Hi, I'm Julia Bruton. This is about We Are Woman, a podcast exploring female and new aspects on the topic of VR.
Hello, everyone. I am here today with Tanja Kojic. We're going to talk a little bit about the academic part of virtual reality, what you can do to get into it, a little bit about what there might be for challenges and also for misunderstandings. Tanja, very happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, for having this chance to talk, and I hope it will be interesting. It's the first time I'm on podcast.
Oh, that's great. So first time with me, you can't be safer anywhere else.
Awesome.
Tanja, can you tell us where you come from and how your journey to VR or XR in this case, because you're doing a little more of XR actually, how that started and how you got here?
I am originally not from here. I am originally from Croatia. I was born, raised, and studied my whole university life before Berlin in Zagreb, which is capital of Croatia. It was, I don't know, since I was a kid, I was interested in technology. I was, the first one to mess up with my dad's phone. Typical, growing up where you're touching computer, you're not allowed to touch. So it is, I don't know, it was in me. It was not that I always knew what I want to do. I explored different stuff. And then when I was thinking about a PhD, Berlin sounded amazing. Here was a chance to do that. And my field of studies is user experience. And VR is a path that I'm exploring this user experience, because when we put these goggles or when we have these immersion experiences, it's really about, how does it feel? And that's my field of research, and that's what is really cool, combining this technology with people feelings, with people's perception, that got me into it, and that's how I stayed in this XR VR field. I started with VR, now it's more XR, as you said.
Okay, that's super interesting actually, because it brings me to the topic of a lot of people that I meet, especially women. They always think that coding is an absolute necessity when they want to go into VR, and this is sometimes frightening them. And now you're speaking about emotions, and that kind of, drives you to go where you're going. So I guess the one question I have is coding a necessity if I want to go into the field of VR?
No, not at all. And that is so wrong. If you open my CV, first thing you see, I've studied computer science, and then I'm telling you, no, you don't need it. No, and in our lab, in academia that we work with, it's very interdisciplinary. And my mentor, my postdoc, now he became a professor, he's psychologist. Some other people as well, they study psychology, and they're my go-to people when I have questions about, how to measure emotions, what is happening in our brain, because by the background I am computer scientist, and when they have a question, maybe something about coding, they would go to me or some of the other people that have this background in coding. The third people have background only in design. Fourth group of people have background only in electrical engineering. So we are definitely here in our little group, people with very, very different backgrounds. And to do VR, to explore it, to research it, you really don't need to start from computer science, no matter if it is like something that maybe you see it at the moment more often as a geeky theme, and that's where it comes from. For me, it's absolutely not. For me, it's really about this experience, and from design part, from living in it, from trying out different fields, from being creative, and then somebody has to code it, but that is a smaller group of people. A much more group of people can explore it.
Okay, that is really like an eye-opener, because as I said, I guess that's a big misconception when we're talking about virtual reality. So it's great that you basically just stated that anybody out there who would like to go into VR and is afraid of coding, you can still go into VR.
Anyone can do it. Really, like, we worked with older people, with kids as well, with so many different people with background who don't even are not into technology. So I think also stereotypically we would say, okay, older people are, stuck with their normal phone and they don't go and explore technology. And then they are actually interested to see what is behind this weird glasses. And they are going to be also the ones who want to give it a try. And maybe they will not be the first one to buy these headsets. So in a market-wise, you will not see a boom of older people having it. But if they are somewhere close to it, they will be super into it. They want to give it a try. And I think research and academia is an amazing place because we have an opportunity to test these devices in different scenarios. So not only the ones that are most common on the market, but really explore where everywhere this technology can be and who everyone can make use of this technology. And it's not just, okay, let's build a startup program for it, sell the game, and that's all. But really, we here in our lab see all the possibilities and all the different people who are using it and all the different niches, how VR can be in our lives and what use case scenarios we have for it and who everyone can use it and how can you start with it.
So that's a good starting point, basically, in general, that you can see.
It's really cool, and that's why I say, like, for me this experience is always the topic, and now XR, it's amazing field to play with it and to research. Yeah.
So you're talking about your lab, so for the people out there. You're right now in Berlin. Can you tell us a little bit about the lab, which is at the Technical University in Berlin, and maybe also tell us how many people you work with, and like maybe also how the gender situation is.
Yeah. So the lab that I'm working with is called Quality and Usability Lab. So even in our title, we are very focused on the usability, on user experience part. And we are chair, I think it's correctly said, or we are lab at the Faculty 4, which is Faculty for Computer Science and Electrical Engineering. And that is at the Technical University of Berlin. So if you just look by the titles, we fall into this category of stereotypically putting VR group in the Faculty 4 that is about computer science in the Technical University. And here I am sitting telling you, like, no, you don't need this background.
I love this paradox.
Yeah, but it's really, really the case. So in our lab, we are, depends on what moment, but between, I would say, 20 to 30 people. And we have one professor who is leading our lab. Then we have between 3 to 5 postdocs. And then the rest are researchers, and that means there are people who are looking to do their PhD studies, and student workers, so people who are at the moment, for example, studying bachelor's or master's, who are working with us on several different projects and so on. And of course, we have the secretary team that we cannot survive with. But if we talk only about the topic of the VR, this is like a little structure. And we do have different backgrounds. So there are students who come from human factors, from psychology, and it's all based in the Technical University. So you would think that it's, completely biased towards computer science, but it's not. So our chair is really super interdisciplinary, and not only having people who were studying or who are studying here, but really from everywhere, who moved for their PhD studies or for their postdoc period and so on.
So if I'm, for example, I would be interested of getting in contact with you because for whatever reason, I am in Berlin right now and I have some connection to academia, you would be open to get in touch and to listen to whatever proposal I would have to have.
Yes, absolutely. Like academia is about writing proposals, and it's about building connections and network and projects, and you can Google me, but literally if you put my name in any search, you would get the website of our chair where me and all of the other researchers are listed. And if you contact me or anywhere else in a day, you will get the response.
There was the other part that I thought was interesting when we had our first talk, that I recently tried to find how many possibilities to study virtual reality in Germany are there actually out there. And I was amazed to see very little ones when I've actually searched for studying and VR. Now, you told me that maybe that could be the wrong approach. Can you tell me why you believe there might be more possibilities out there to actually study VR, and what I would have to take care of in order when I search for it?
It's very similar how I explained my lab being under wrong names, or not wrong, but maybe more common names. It goes when you're looking for courses to study VR. So courses are not labeled virtual reality course, and I'm helping in teaching, and I'm teaching definitely all of my projects, student projects, my course of studies. Everything is involving VR. I studied a lot with VR. Now it's more also XR, but those two terms. And if you look under my name or the courses that I'm teaching, it's nowhere to be written, because those courses are called usability engineering. Mm-hmm. Those courses are called multimodal interaction. So it is the concepts, the theoretical concepts, where we are building on top of the technology. And right now our technology is VR. It is XR. So we are explaining some of the theoretical concepts, but we are doing it with the most current technology. Mm-hmm. And if you want to study XR, if you want to learn the concepts, the design, the coding, any part of that, whatever you are interested in, if you go to School of Design, you will probably have like theory of design or something similar as a title, where they will have the full semester and explaining that on top of the newest technology, which is XR, which is the most like fun for them also, which is our future if we are talking about technology. So it's not all so old school as it's written on the titles of the courses. However, we cannot change the titles of the courses each semester. Mm-hmm. And the process of changing the name and curriculum is very long, and it has to be validated, which is reasonable. So it's that you cannot, as a professor or as an assistant, teach whatever you want. Mm-hmm. So you need to teach correct things, you need to teach the theories that are correct and so on. But the technology that we are doing it's always up to date. So if you want to learn something like that, don't open just the title of the courses, or really try to open what the whole curriculum is, or even Google for the people who are teaching it, because if you see that they are into VR, then you will know that this course is actually gonna include a lot of VR, XR in it. So it's a little trick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's just a good idea, actually, also with trying to figure out who's teaching and then seeing what these people are doing.
So it really depends. And then some of the possibilities where we do include VR in the title, it's so-called summer or winter schools, because those are opportunities where we teach between semesters. It's not part of the curriculum of master's or bachelor program, but it's something additional students can do. And these are the courses that are more easily changeable, and then we can include the name of the technology as well in those courses. So I was lying. I was not lying when I said, like, if you Google me, you will not see that I'm teaching anything. But if you Google me, you will see that I do teach design and development for extended reality. And there we were able to put extended reality because this is a course that we were doing as a part of the summer school at UB.
With your work, you're also traveling a lot. You're in different places talking about your research. I imagine in my world for the moment, it might be a small one, but that there's still a huge female-male gap situation. Would you confirm that with your experience by now, or would you say that maybe the medium of VR or XR is attracting a lot more women than maybe, I don't know, 20 years ago computer science did?
Okay, 20 years ago, it's way better. It's so much better than it was in terms of numbers. But if I think our small group, where this conversation started from, we are more girls than guys, which is very interesting. And it is changing. So sometimes, as I said, the number of people is changing. Some people are finishing their studies, leaving, then new ones are hired. So it's never, I cannot tell you exact percentage, but at this moment when we are talking, we are actually way more girls than guys in our lab. And then if I go to some conferences that are very big ones, that are very public, I have a feeling that being a girl is an exception. But maybe it's, my perception. And then again, when I think of the times when I was studying back home, we were around 50-50. And then when I think about the projects, like European projects and so on, it's maybe you have around 30 people at a table and 2 of them are women. So it really depends on the situation, where you are. So we can think of the reasons why what is happening. We can think also the reasons age-wise. So I have a feeling if you're in a group of PhD meeting students, you will have 50-50 situation because the age group will be lower. So it will be people between 25 or 35 years old, average. Of course, you have younger, older, it doesn't matter. But there, in the younger generation, you will have like 50-50. In the situation where you're in, this project meetings that are usually led by very senior people, their generation is the one that was not attracting in their generation so many female students or diversity and so on in the older times. That's why I said 20 years ago. I have a feeling it was not like that. It was completely different world. But when you're placed in that situation in some project, then you will feel odd because it's normal for my professor to send me as a very young researcher to very important meetings. But it's not everywhere like that. And usually professors are those that want to be there. And then you're surrounded with older people, mainly are men. And then maybe funny situations can happen. And then when you go back to your, meetings with PhD students, with my generation, it would be maybe even more girls. I have a feeling definitely
that's helpful,
in our lab.
Right? That we just basically have to wait it out a little bit.
Yeah, the trend started a bit later. But if I'm looking at, for example, bachelor students that I have a chance to work with, I would say it's almost 50-50, especially in the VR courses, because you have this opportunity of creativity and design and using it for different purposes and storytelling in it, and it's not only gaming. So maybe people think, okay, it's only gaming, but it's really not. And the way how we are teaching it comes from this whole human factor side. So I think it's one the reason for the other, and it goes into circles.
Let's go back to what you said in the beginning, that what is important to you is the emotional part when you're going into the usability also of certain applications or findings or research. Can you tell us a little bit about your thesis and shortly what it was about, but mainly where it got you to and what you kind of found in the end?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I will try not to sound too scientific like a book right now. So definitely what got me into is this idea of, okay, it's not only gaming, and my thesis is about serious gaming. And it sounds funny because I tell you now, it's not about gaming, and I literally have gaming in my title. But the idea of serious gaming is using this motivation, that people who are gamers have. And they can spend hours playing some game. And why is it so immersive? Why do people are so intrinsically motivated? Like, they don't need anyone else telling them, go ahead, do that, because they themselves really want to game. So how can we use this motivation for so-called serious purposes, which can be really any other task but having fun playing the game itself? That's a very, theoretically driven definition that I just said. But it's, can we use this motivation in our everyday work? Can we use it to train people for something? Can we use it in teaching? Can we use it in simulators and so on? And there are 3 factors. How will you have a very good experience with VR? First factor is this system part. So how the game is built. And how is it designed? What is the content? What's your network? If it is online, if you have a bad network, you will not really have a good time, and so on. Second part is the context. So if you put people to play VR game at the main square in Berlin, so in Alexanderplatz, they will be terrified. They don't see anything, and they will not feel safe. So it really depends where you are playing in terms of context. So here it can be social context. Are you surrounded with people? It can be like a physical context. Can you hurt yourself? Or is it like full of, even if it's not around people, be in the room full of tables, you can hurt yourself and so on. So safety plays a role. And third part that really plays a role are people themselves. So, and this, like, all 3 I explored in my thesis, but really who people are and their motivation and their age group, their gender, their affinity for technology. So all of the different factors that people have in themselves definitely also plays a role. So, of course, you cannot give somebody with epilepsy to try out VR. So we will never do that. We really take care of the ethical approvals and so on when we are doing the studies. But also, like, if somebody is sick on a roller coaster, there is a tendency that these people might be sick in a bad VR game that does not have a very good solution for the locomotives of the virtual world and so on. So, of course, whenever we are doing the studies, the first thing we say is like, hey, if you feel sick, please stop. And we never want to make anyone sick, but we want to measure also the technical parameters. How bad can we create the game that people still want to use it, that they will still feel motivated and so on. Also, how good we can create the game. So it goes both ways, but for me it was very interesting to see people of different ages, people of different backgrounds really playing those games and really wanting to play more. So after each condition they would be like, okay, so we've done the study, but can we now play just a game, or can we now just explore more? It's like this wow factor, and it really, VR has this wow factor a lot. And we found very good information, very good influences. All of those 3 play a role. And I think that's why I love my topic so much, because it is around people and how we can use it.
There, I do have a question because I'm curious about it. I get that, when you're like the serious gamer, that you're really interested in more and more and more. But let's say the topic that you're presenting in the virtual reality world, how important was it, if it's possible to answer that question, was it for the users that they're interested in that world, or was it only the gaming factor itself?
I have a feeling we always show them something that is not SF or something that they are interested in, because it always had the purpose. So when you are testing for usability, people should not be biased, so they don't know before what they will test. And we do, let's say, a background check about their emotions, how they are feeling, what they are interested in, what are their background, what is demographics, and so on. And we try to match all those things. If some topic is very specific, like if we would be testing some sci-fi scenario, we would probably then also ask how into it people are in general. But we were testing very basic things. So the one that I really like is about reading, because text is everywhere around us and we don't even notice right now, but you have a notebook, you're writing down, like there is a box, something is written on it with a label. So text is really around us, and when we are creating this VR world, because of the technical limitations, we don't put so many labels, we don't put so much text. Maybe it's not necessary in our new created VR world. But if I ask you right now, okay, but can you imagine yourself working in VR and you need to send an email, which font size do you use?
I have no idea. It's just opening up and I'm writing it.
You're just opening and whatever is default, right? And we played, for example, with this, what is default? What should be the default setting of, opening a document in VR? Mm-hmm. And it's not sci-fi, but I got you interested. Mm-hmm. Because it's something so common that we are using, and we are trying to see how this behaves, and would people be interested and motivated to do these tasks as well in VR? And then why would you put the whole goggles on when you can type it easier on your phone? But if it's something that is very like data sensitive, that you want to be sure that nobody else can see from your back, then people are, okay, so I don't know, I can really type my thoughts and only I see it because it's not connected to online world, and then I type it in such a way, or it's very, very hidden, let's say, from something that is behind. And then we played with sizes of the text and so on. And everywhere we are told, okay, when you are designing it, just put white paper, black text. By text letters, mm-hmm. right? You will be safe, that is readable. In VR, that doesn't work, mm-hmm. because the white paper is so white that when you have it and the VR glasses are so close to your eyes, it is so bright that people don't feel comfortable with. Just put your phone like on 3 centimeters to your face. This white screen will mm-hmm. like be horrible for you. And these are the things. So it's nothing like SF. It's nothing like a gaming world. But can we make people think about it in a creative way, and what do they like and what they want to see, what they thought it's gonna be as well. So it's really about that.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you, how long have you worked on the thesis and on the research itself?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah,
okay.
so
it's a long time.
It's a long time. It also, a lot of devices changed in the meantime. Mm-hmm. Resolution got better. Much more games are available. Applications for it are available. At the beginning, we really coded everything ourselves because nothing was available. Now we don't code so much anymore because there are solutions available that we can test things we want to test with some on-market applications. So it is a cool path, and so now we are like, okay, then normal VR glasses are too normal. Let's move to XR glasses where half of the screen becomes transparent, and what do we do now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very interesting too, right?
Yeah.
If you're like half here and half in this other immersive world, how does that work? Actually, that's your next thesis, right?
That is my postdoc research. Yes, definitely.
Wonderful. I have a question, because you talked about the roller coaster and about people who in real life get sick on roller coasters, that they might have issues then in VR too. And then there's the buzzword motion sickness. And I read so far that studies do show that women do get it faster. Could you find something like that, for example, within your studies, where there is differences between genders in terms of usability, in terms of awareness? Yeah.
Yes. So definitely part of this human factors is really trying to see what groups and what makes the difference. And there is definitely an effect of gender, there is an effect of age, and there is an effect of previous experience with VR. So the more you spend time in it, you will have different expectations and so on. If you never played it, you will have this wow effect. And all three of them combined are very, very common factors that will make a difference for a particular game in particular time. But we have not been testing motion sickness in the terms of motion sickness, because that would make us really aim to make people sick, which is not in our ethical standards that we. So if it happens, we tell people to stop immediately, and then we don't we mark this as it made people sick, but we don't measure how much, and we don't measure who it was, and so on. So our aim in our studies is never to make people sick. Of course it can happen, but there are today a lot of known algorithms for designing how to not make people sick. And where it happens more is if I have a student project, and while they are developing and creating, while they are tweaking it to not be motion sicknessing,
They get motion sick.
They get motion sick. So because they are testing their own code and they are learning how to develop it, and then it's not perfect, and then everything is flying around everywhere. But we were never testing it that I can tell you, okay, here really the gender makes difference, and like my female students were more sick and were complaining more about it. So I don't have data about that.
And you couldn't find like other maybe points that would come up more, I don't know, with a female group than with a male group
for different things. For yes, different things. For different things, yes. But for motion sickness, we never tested it. For different things, absolutely. And but I think it's not just gender; it's the combination of these three factors. Sorry, not roles. So it's age, gender, and the previous experience. I don't think the gender itself is the reason. I think the previous experience is the reason, actually, and it tends to be that less girls tried it before, so that the bias that we have in our participant is that more girls first time try VR in our experiments and so on. But even so, there is a way how to monitor it and to have the groups that are equal size and so on. And definitely in the design, how the patterns, how people want to see placement of the things or interactions with certain elements, there is a difference between female and male group. And our recommendation is that designers should leave the possibility in settings between those major factors that can lead to, for example, to motion sickness, that you can tweak between those settings. Not necessarily that you need to say, hey, I'm a woman playing, but that you have the settings, the possibility. So we like on phones, you can tweak between brightness, right? If you want a dark theme or a white theme. Something like that those major factors that are, for example, causing the motion sickness and so on, as you said, it's more common with females, that you can tweak those settings in. And many apps already do have, especially for motion sickness, where you can turn off and on the level of how things are gonna fly and how hectic it's gonna be, so that you can help this feeling. So I don't think it's a showstopper. I don't think that, oh, okay, now somebody is listening, okay, I'm a girl, I will be motion sick. It's absolutely not the case.
No, that's also not what I
so
trying to say. No, that's definitely and it's also why I'm asking is because for me, it never happened, for example, but I do have a friend, and the first time she put on the goggles, she was like, oh, I really have no idea where it's up and down. And I said, I can't understand this. Why do you have an issue with it? So it's just because I'm sometimes thinking, oh, is that really true?
It's really funny. Like my boyfriend, for example, he has like usually struggles with roller coasters and so on. So him playing VR, he really wanted it because he's a gamer, you know, and he really wanted to play, but he was like faster sick than I am because I am looking at this bad code which is in the development for years now, and I'm not a gamer myself and don't have this motivation for the game itself, but I will be less sick than he is. And this is like a situation of two people which is completely opposite, and that's why we need data when we are talking scientifically. We never make conclusions based on what we feel as one person, but really like more than 30 participants, 50 participants, and then the group size need to be equal and so on to really make these conclusions. In the tests, so once when it's developed, I never had a person stopping the experiment because they felt motion sick. So in that case, when we go to the testing, we really make sure that we followed all the recommendations possible, that we make nobody sick. And it was like old and young and female and male and non-binary and all kind of people that we had. So it's possible to tweak it in a way that it's enjoyable for everyone.
We're going to come to an end soon, but I have so many questions actually right now. So I'm just going to keep on going for a moment, because what you said with, you know, the differences of a setting, you know, of a world and how that kind of can influence your emotional status is super interesting. I don't know, when we're talking, let's say, psychotherapy, for example, and you have a surrounding that calms you completely down towards another person who needs a different surrounding. And this kind of already gives you a huge opportunity in the beginning of any kind of work, right? With the human mind and body in this case too, to kind of elevate in the beginning already the how you say, the starting points, if you know what I mean. So my question is also a little bit hinting into the future. I'm guessing these are parts that your research kind of also made more visible at some point. So do you have an idea where you're going with the research, the knowledge that you have so far? And could it actually also be you working in VR, creating VR?
That's an interesting loop. And how many times can we say, and then in VR and in VR? So do I have? It's a very hard question to say. Do I have an idea where I'm going when you are in research? Because you have the hypothesis, and it fails, but you found something so cool where direction that you can continue. And it's really the world where you're digging and looking for something, but you're not sure because it is not found yet. You're looking for something that is not there yet. So you might spend like a year and had no results because nothing's like, all the hypotheses were let's say false, but it's not a wasted time because you learn in this process so much where else you can go. And it starts to happen what happened to you right now. I have so many new questions now, and this is like a world that I can explore so much more. And I don't think we will be in VR working for the VR. I think we will be in the normal reality working with XR. And because for every new technology, there is this bridge where people need to have something that is familiar enough for them to continue and then build on top. And I think XR, and maybe that's because this is, you know, where I'm going and where it's my next research topic as well. This XR provides us this bridging opportunity where you can be in reality and in virtual reality in one click of a button, or when you need to, and it's solving some other issues where you can, you know, then choose, and depending on use case, on the scenario, so on, be in level of immersion what fits you as a person and as a situation the best. And what is the situation? What are the limitations? What are the factors? How we are going to integrate it? Not even in the movies. We don't know how it's going to look like. And it's really here all of this design and creativity that we need right now to create this world, how the future will look like. And I don't think that it will replace people or all these fears that are happening with AI especially. It will be integrated, but it's going to be around people.
Thank you so much, Tanja. This was a wonderful talk and I got to learn so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope more people get on board of the new technologies and trying it out and seeing that it's a very creative world that we have there.